The scariest monsters aren't always found in nightmares. Sometimes, they live right next door. It all began when Mr. Grayson moved into the house next door. The house had been empty for years, its windows covered in grime, and the garden overgrown with weeds. When the moving truck arrived, the neighbors were curious, everyone except Claire. Claire watched from her bedroom window as Mr. Grayson stepped out of his car. He was tall and thin, with sunken eyes that seemed too dark to reflect any light. He never smiled. He looks odd, Claire whispered to herself, a chill running down her spine. That night, strange noises echoed from the house next door. Banging, scraping, and something that sounded like a low growl. Claire pulled the covers over her head, hoping it was just her imagination. The next morning, the neighborhood was abuzz. Mrs. Hamilton, who lived 2 houses down, was frantically searching for her cat, Muffin. She never runs away, Mrs. Hamilton sobbed. Claire thought of the strange noises from the night before. Could it be connected? As she walked past Mr. Grayson's house on her way to school, she noticed something. On the porch, there was a trail of dried, dark red stains leading to the door. Is that blood? She thought, her heart racing. She wanted to look closer, but the curtains moved slightly, and she felt eyes watching her. That evening, Claire's mom asked her to deliver a welcome pie to Mr. Grayson. She hesitated, but couldn't say no. The front yard was eerily silent. The air felt heavy, and the faint smell of something rotting lingered. Claire knocked on the door, clutching the pie. The door creaked open, and there he was, Mr. Grayson. His hollow eyes seemed to pierce through her. "You're Claire," he said, his voice raspy and cold. "How does he know my name?" She wondered, trembling. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she stammered, handing him the pie. His hand brushed hers, ice cold to the touch. He smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind that sent shivers down your spine. Over the next week, more pets went missing, and the strange noises from Mr. Grayson's house grew louder. One night, Claire saw a flickering light coming from his basement window. Curiosity got the better of her. She snuck out with a flashlight and crept around his yard. Peering through the basement window, she saw something horrifying. Mr. Grayson was crouched over a table, muttering strange words. On the table lay a large, open book with pages that seemed to glow. Surrounding him were jars filled with what looked like animal remains. She gasped, and the flashlight slipped from her hand. It hit the ground with a loud thud. Mr. Grayson froze. His head snapped up, and his dark eyes locked onto hers through the window. Claire ran, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't look back, but could hear the sound of heavy footsteps behind her. She darted into her house, slamming and locking the door. The footsteps stopped. She peeked out through the peephole but saw nothing. Just as she began to relax, a whisper came from the other side of the door. "Claire, I know you're there," she screamed and ran to her room, locking the door behind her. The next morning, Claire told her parents about what she saw. But they dismissed it as a bad dream. "You've been watching too many scary movies," her mom said. That night, Claire decided to stay awake and watch Mr. Grayson's house. Around midnight, she saw him leave, carrying a large bag that dripped dark liquid. She grabbed her phone to record, but suddenly, the bag moved. It was alive. She couldn't take it anymore. She called the police and told them everything. When the police arrived, they searched Mr. Grayson's house. Claire and the other neighbors watched from a safe distance. After hours of searching, the officers emerged, their faces pale. "We found something," one officer said grimly. In the basement, they had discovered the remains of the missing pets and strange symbols drawn on the walls in blood. In the corner, there was a cage with something inside, a creature that didn't look entirely human, but Mr. Grayson was gone. The police never found him. Days later, the neighborhood tried to move on, but Claire couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. One night, As she lay in bed, she heard it again, the low growl. She looked toward her window and froze. There, standing in the moonlight, was a shadowy figure with hollow eyes. It was Mr. Grayson. He raised a finger to his lips and whispered, "Sure. It's our little secret. What will you do if you are Claire?" Evil can hide behind the most ordinary faces. Always trust your instincts, especially when something doesn't feel right.
Please subscribe, like, comment and share this video. It means a lot to us. Thank you.